Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. Now, Montenegro stands at a crossroads, a small, scenic country with big ambitions to join the European Union by 2028. But a massive 35 billion euro tourism and real estate deal with the UAE pushed through Parliament amid fierce debate threatens to cast a shadow over those dreams. Today we explore what this means, not just for Montenegro's coastline, but for its future as a European democracy. And now to speak more about it all is our very own Ayşe Abaci, reporter here at TVP World. Thanks, good to see you this morning.
Hello, Sasha. Good to see you too.
So you have recently come back from this scenic country, but it's an important country as well. Tell us a bit, first of all, about this deal. What exactly happened here? Why is this causing such a fuss?
Well, Montenegro is a frontrunner in the EU accession process. And this deal is causing such a backlash because it's coming from a foreign investor. It's a very, very big deal. Almost 35 billion euros are on the line here. And the place in question is the town of Ulcinj, which is a coastal city in Montenegro. And the deal is set to be made, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, on a 12-kilometer undeveloped, pristine coastline. Already people are living there, but one important thing is that it's also a protected area. So the deal apparently is too vague, according to civil society and opposition. It came without any transparency. It came as a surprise. Local voices are not happy about it because they don't know what this investor from the UAE is intending on doing there. And naturally, they're just protesting and saying, well, nobody asked us, so how come this person is now barging into our city without asking us and making a deal with the government, and we don't have a say in it? So that's kind of the problem here. And they're also saying that it's against the path that they want to walk towards EU accession, because EU accessions, I mean, first and foremost, values is transparency, rule of law. So these things for them, the local communities, the opposition, are not respected, and this is why they're not happy with it.
So, I mean, you said different elements here, the locals in Ulcinj, said the government, opposition, but at some point here, transparency was a major impact here.
Indeed.
So how is that going to now impact Montenegro's role, which is very much one of those top countries that is in the accession process? How is this now? Is this leaving some bad blood in Brussels? Is this going to endanger the process? What's that on all this?
Well, it looks like it is not endangering the process per se right now, because a couple of days ago, Montenegro actually closed Chapter 5 in the EU accession negotiations, which is on public procurement. And even with this deal on the table, even though Parliament did pass this real estate and tourism agreement, they still closed this Chapter 5, which is public procurement. It is not, at the moment, a problem for Brussels. The chapter has been provisionally closed, but the Commissioner for Enlargement, Marta Kos, has said that the way the deal is right now is way too vague and may actually, deteriorate some of the progress that Montenegro has made up until now. Because Montenegro, like we said before, is the front runner, is like the shining star of the EU accession process. So we're experiencing right now, is the shining star going to remain a shining star, or are they actually going to start taking, side fast-track ways to get more money, more investment, or stay on the EU path, which is a little bit more, let's say, slow, but more stable?
Well, there's more scrutiny now. At the same time, I want to ask, because, I mean, this is the UAE. That was going to be this, or supposed to be this big investor in all this.
Yeah.
Now, along the coastline, I mean, this is not surely the only country and the only investor. I mean, tell us a little bit more about, is this the only such deal? Have there been similar things in the past? And Turkey's also, I think, doing some investments. So tell us a little bit more about other big players that are looking and have invested or trying to invest in Montenegro.
Well, I mean, Montenegro is definitely right now seen as a regional country where you can get energy, you have the opportunity to make big investments, because the country is definitely hungry for foreign investment. They don't have a very big industry of their own. They don't really produce or export something in a large scale, except for energy. So definitely it is a country that is, let's say, attractive. In the past, there was such a big investment almost a decade ago from China under the Belt and Road Initiative. China started, well, it was complicated, but there was this highway project. A number of 600 million euros is out there. This is the money that was spent, and this highway is still not finished. And it caused bankruptcy, a lot of issues that Montenegro is still facing right now. So there is this past, a little bit of a turbulent past. So we are wondering if this kind of foreign investment is also going to be handled in the proper way, so as to avoid these kinds of issues in the future.
And also interesting, you said you were on the ground there. You talked to locals in Ulcin and across the coastline, which is very beautiful, by the way. And let's just say that, But at the same time, what were your reactions there? What did the locals say? You said there was also environmental factors at play here. So give us a take on what you heard there from that.
Well, first of all, the first person we spoke in Ulcin was the mayor of Ulcin. And, well, his first words were, we were very surprised. We were extremely surprised. The Prime Minister didn't ask us before making this deal. The deal came from back doors, back channels, rather than being proposed to us, being debated, local communities taking part and saying whether they want it or not. No, it was just like there and that's it. So it was definitely a surprise for them, and they didn't take it well. Another person we spoke to was a local business owner on the beach, and those business owners are also in danger because they cannot afford to give the same amounts of money to lease those beaches. So if a big investor comes, they're just out of the game. So it's also quite it would deteriorate local businesses as well. And then when it comes to the environmental part. Ulcin is a protected area, so there are a number of migratory birds that reside in Ulcin. The flora and fauna of the whole area is under protection. I think it's called the Green Belt, European Green Belt area. So this deal, as it was made right now, it was very vague, and it didn't, I think, mention any protection, how it would be. So this is why the locals were also like, well, what happens now? What will happen to our city, to the place that we live? Don't we have a say in it? So we spoke to also some other businesses, and they said, no, we don't want this. Of course, they did say, opposition MP, we spoke to the opposition MP, Ivan Vukovic, and he said the country does need investment, but we prefer those investments to be more transparent, where we can understand what will happen where, and like infrastructure investment more than luxury resorts or apartments on untouched coastal lines of the country where there's a lot of natural habitat as well. So,
and at the same time, you mentioned this one opposition politician. What has been the voice of the opposition in this? I mean, are they on the same page with this deal? They said they want investment, but they want it in a different sort of way. Has this clashed the ruling party with the opposition? How has the reaction been, and what's next there?
Well, when we spoke to Ivan Vukovic from the opposition, he did say, he repeated a couple of times that it lacked transparency, it lacked competitiveness, because when a big investor comes like this, naturally he's able to overtake a lot of the businesses around, so it's not very competitive. And also he said it might endanger the EU path because of the vagueness, lack of transparency. It could open the door to corruption, money laundering schemes. I mean, we don't know yet. And the fact is, the deal has only been, the law has only been, ratified in Parliament. But there are voices who say, we are just hoping that, okay, this deal exists, but they're not going to do anything about it. They're just going to put it on the shelf and not actually implement it. And we tried to ask, like, how is this actually possible? Do people in Montenegro vote laws and then don't do anything about them. Apparently, there is such a belief.
And what about the president's role in all this? You said it's kind of floating around. Does he not, I think, did he not sign off on this? Is he going to? Do you have any indication?
He did sign it already. So when the law was first in Parliament, when there was the first voting and it passed, the president actually refused to sign it because he said that this deal, this law as it is right now, is against the constitution of Montenegro. So he didn't sign it. And then the law went back to Parliament. It was voted again. It passed again. And then he had to sign it or send it to the, Constitutional Court. So instead of doing that, he just signed it.
So then, I mean, if we step out and zoom out for a moment here, looking at what this case tells us, so in your observations, when your conversations with different officials, with locals, everything, where do you see this going, and what does it mean for Montenegro now, just in conclusion?
Well, it's definitely a developing story. I think Montenegro is very, very strong in its conviction to join the EU. And this is one of the things that I've heard. Whether it's opposition or ruling party, they do align on the goal of being an EU member state by 2028, even though the date for some is too ambitious because they've only closed seven chapters out of 33. So it's a lot of chapters to close by 2026. They want to close all chapters.
And they're so easy and streamlined, right, usually?
Yeah, but I think Montenegro definitely wants to be part of the EU. This deal shook opposition and locals because it might stray them away from their cultural heritage, but also this EU path. But Montenegro is a beautiful country, and the developments of the story will definitely be on our radar.
Exactly, and as you said, this
on
is
my radar,
on your radar, on everyone's radar, people watching. You said really interesting intersection, European politics, investment, environment, but a story that we're going to continue watching. Ayşe Abaci, thank you for sharing that, coming in for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay tuned, much more coming up right here on TVP World. Goodbye.